Hey guys, so this is part 3. If you haven't seen part 1 or 2, go to my channel. It will be down in below. So let's just get back into it. So yeah, it was tight. But I was like, I told him, I said, I can't do this anymore. He asked me, what do I need from him? Because he's like, I miss you. And, you know, like, I really hate to see you miserable and not happy. Like, what can I do? And I said, just leave me alone. And he said, are you sure you really want me to leave you alone? And I'm like, yes. So he's like, okay, fine. I left him. He left me alone for a couple weeks. And then one day I had class with Taylor, and Taylor was like, oh my God, Brian and I broke up. And I'm like, oh word, what happened? And she was like, oh yeah, he said that he found someone else, and like, you know, he really wanted to pursue that person, and he doesn't want to pursue me anymore or whatever, and all of this stuff. So I'm like, okay, that sucks. And so after that conversation with Taylor, I texted Brian. I was like, because he texted me good morning, because he texted me little things like, good morning, I hope your day was happy, I hope you have a great day, or whatever. So he texted me good morning, and I'm like, hey, good morning, I hope you have a great day too, and stuff. And he was like, oh yeah, I had a good day. And I'm like, I'm sorry to hear that you broke up with Taylor. And he's like, oh, she told you? And I'm like, yeah, she told me. And I'm like, I hope you find this girl that you're pursuing or whatever. And he was like, yeah, and I'm like, oh, how'd you meet her or whatever? And he was like, oh, I saw her, she worked at Wendy's and stuff like that or whatever. And I'm just like, oh, okay, that's great. And we started talking, again and getting more into it, and he's talking to me about this girl or whatever. And he's like, yeah, I asked her out and she said yes, and we started dating or whatever. And then he was like, oh, but I found out she don't want to be exclusive and stuff like that. And I'm like, oh, okay. And so I was like, oh, since you broke up with Taylor and, the girl that you're talking to doesn't want to be exclusive, we can start up again with our friends with benefits shit, right? And he was like, oh, great. Like, really? And I'm like, yeah, that's fine. And we started fucking again. We started fucking, and we started hanging out more and doing all that stuff or whatever. And then one day he told me, he was like, oh, Vanessa, I just want to tell you that the girl said that she wants to be exclusive now, so we're gonna have to stop fucking. And I'm like, oh wow, look at you who have growth, boy, you getting all mature and shit. He started laughing. I was like, yeah, that's fine, we can still be friends, we don't have to stop being friends, we can just stop fucking. And he's like, oh great. And so we stopped fucking or whatever. And then he texted me. He was like, oh, man, this sucks because this girl said that she doesn't want to be exclusive with me anymore. She wants to, date other people, but still date me. And I'm like, and then he was like, oh, can we, start fucking again? And I'm like, sure, I have no issue with that. And I had every reason to believe him because he told me that he was exclusive. So I'm like, oh, wow, he's growing. No, I was fucking wrong. I should have never believed him. Because later, after we start fucking again, I find out that from Taylor, because Taylor was like, oh, I'm stalking his new girlfriend. I found his new girlfriend on Facebook. They're Facebook couple together or whatever. Some bullshit. And she showed me a picture of them together recently, like 2 days ago. And I'm just like, oh my God, this fucking asshole. And I'm like, I texted him right away. I was like, dude, I'm fucking done. And he's like, what? He's like, I found out that you're actually still dating this girl exclusively. And I'm like, what the fuck? And he's like, oh, I'm sorry, like, I miss you and blah, 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 and this shit like that. And I'm like, dude, like, it's wrong. Like, why do you keep doing this? He's like, don't you see that all the girls that I'm dating, I always fucking cheat on them with you? And I'm just like, is that supposed to make me feel better? Like, it doesn't. So just leave me alone. And I literally stopped texting him again. And that went on for a couple weeks, like me not texting him or whatever. And then one day he texted me. He was like, babe, you know, I miss you and stuff like that. And, you know, I just want to show you that me and the girl broke up. You can check my Facebook status. You can check her Facebook status. Like, we broke up. We're not together anymore. And I just miss you. And I just really want to be with you. And I want our friendship back. I want our friends with benefits back. Like, let's do this. And I'm just like, I don't believe you. And he was just like, just check. I promise. Like, this is for real. So I checked. And I found out that it was for real, whatever. So I'm like, okay, whatever. Fine. We can start fucking again. So we started fucking again. And this time I was very cold with him. I wasn't really friends, or didn't really like have the cute little text or whatever. I didn't really say like all the cutesy shits or whatever that we used to do. I just was just fucking him, and that's it. It was just like, hey, you want to fuck, and that's it, or whatever. So you know, this is the time when we started Skyping and stuff. So we had Skypes all the time. So he used to, you know, he used to text, he used to try to have conversations with me and stuff through text and through like Skype. And I just didn't want it. I just wasn't having it. And one day I remember I was in social studies class. And like, before that, but like when we used to fuck and then like hang out later, like chill and like kind of like talk about each other's day and things like that. When we're fucking now, it was just a fuck and that's it. It was like, okay, we're done. You finished? Okay, you gotta go. Because I was off of it. Like, he wasn't just the only person I was fucking, whatever. So, and it was the same thing. Like, when I went to his house, we'd fuck, and then I was just like, okay, all right, great, bye, see you later. And so I remember in social studies class, I texted him. I was like, hey, like, and he was like, no, I didn't even say hey. I think I just wrote a question mark, and he was like, what? And I was like, wanna fuck? And then he was like, he didn't text for a while, and then he was like, why do you only just you just text me for sex? Like, why don't you do that? Like, I want to have, you know, conversations and things like that or whatever. Why do you just do that? And why do you leave after we have sex and all this shit? I'm just looking at him like, what the fuck? We're not in a relationship. And so I ended up like not texting him back. And then later on, when I came home from school, I'm just like, I texted him, I'm like, dude, we're just fuck buddies. We're just fucking. Like, what the fuck is wrong with you? And he just went off. He was like, oh, you know, you don't ask me about my day anymore. You don't ask me about this. You don't have a conversation. I don't want everything about sex. I just want to talk, like, things like that. I'm like, bro, like, I was just like over it. So I was just like, what? And anyway, he then took a little bit, and then he wrote me on Skype, and he was like, hey babe, I took time out, I smoked a cigarette, and I just realized that, you know, I love you, and I want to be in a relationship with you, and I want to date you, and I want you all to myself. Like, I don't want you to share you with anybody. I've realized that all the girls that I'm dating, I'm looking about all the things, I'm comparing them to you, and they're not you. And so I want to be with you. And I was just like, what? He wants me, he loves me. And so I was just like, I love you too. And he was like, be my girlfriend. And I was like, okay, I will. And so that's how we started being boyfriend and girlfriend. But yeah, that's pretty much it, guys. I hope you guys like this story, this video. Please like, comment, and subscribe. Hit the notification bell button down below, and we will chat tomorrow. I will tell you more. But later, guys.